Hello there, thanks for joining us. In this video, we're going to be talking about Canadian open work permits. What exactly is an open work permit? Who is eligible for an open work permit and how can it be used? We'll have much more information on this after the break, and as usual, do remember to hit the subscribe button and to check us out on our website at go.gooselaw.com. We'll be right back. Welcome back. My name is Donovan Francis and I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer, and I help skilled workers who are already inside Canada or who are outside Canada. I help them with their permanent residency applications and save them from having to deal with all of the complicated immigration forms that are part of that process. Now, generally speaking, persons wanting to come to Canada to work require a work permit. Work permits, Canadian work permits, can either be open or they can be closed. A closed work permit is generally one that ties the holder of that work permit to working only with the employer who is named on the work permit, the employer whose name is written onto the face of the work permit. And a closed work permit would also restrict, generally speaking, the work permit holder's ability to work at any other locations other than the locations that are written onto the face of the work permit. An open work permit, on the other hand, is a work permit that does not restrict you to working with any particular employer. It authorizes you to work with any employer across Canada, and generally speaking, it also authorizes the holder to work from any location inside Canada. Now, not all applicants are eligible for an open work permit. Persons who are eligible for open work permits are limited to individuals from within certain categories. One of the categories of persons that are eligible for open work permits are students who've come to Canada, they've studied, and they've since graduated from their designated learning institution. Upon graduation, they become eligible for a postgraduate work permit. That work permit is an open work permit. Okay, so that's the work permit that's issued to a graduate from a study program in Canada who was previously on a work permit. An eligible graduate, mind you, that person gets an open work permit. And what that means is that that work permit allows them to work for any employer and from any location within Canada. There's also another category, a less commonly known category, and that is a category for destitute students. If one is able to show that they fit into this category, then the type of work permit that you would get would be an open work permit. Similarly, persons who are in Canada on a closed work permit, a work permit that ties you to an employer, to a specific employer, and it turns out that you are being abused by that employer, you are at risk of being abused, and this abuse is specific to your job, right? This is abuse that is related to your job. Where this has been established, then you would also be eligible for an open work permit. Other categories of persons who are eligible for open work permits are persons who've applied for permanent residence. These types of open work permits are referred to as bridging open work permits. And in essence, they serve as a bridge between you being a temporary resident in Canada and you moving to become a permanent resident in Canada. Another category of workers that are eligible for open work permit are dependent family members of somebody who's applied for permanent residence. So it's similar to the bridging work permit that would be issued to a work permit holder who has applied for permanent residence in Canada. Another and very popular form of open work permit is the open spousal or common law work permit. So this is a work permit that's issued to the spouses of work permit holders in Canada. So where one spouse is successful in applying for a regular work permit, usually a closed work permit that ties them to a particular employer, and they are eligible to take their spouse or common law partner with them to Canada, then that spouse or common law partner who is being taken to Canada may themselves be eligible for an open work permit. This also applies to international students. Their spouses or common law spouses may also be eligible for an open work permit. And again, an open work permit allows them to work for any employer and also from any location in Canada. They're not restricted. This also is available to persons who are applying under the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. The open spousal option is available to them. There are other categories of persons within Canada who may also be eligible. These include refugees and refugee claimants, protected persons and their family members, and so on and so forth. Somebody who holds a temporary resident permit, which is a different thing from a work permit, they may also qualify for an open work permit that would go along with their TRP, their temporary resident permit. And the other category of persons will be a young worker participating in special programs. Now, it's important to note that if you're thinking of coming to Canada because you fit into one of these categories and your expectation is that you'd be applying for an open spousal work permit, then you want to be clear that there may also be other requirements specific to your particular category that you will want to bear in mind. But the important thing in all of this is to know that there's a distinction between a closed work permit and an open work permit. Closed work permit ties you to a specific employer and oftentimes ties you to a specific location, work location in Canada, while an open work permit allows you much more freedom in terms of the employer you're going to be working for, and also in terms of where in Canada you'll be working from. However, only certain categories of persons qualify for an open work permit. And so, I trust you found the information we've shared in this video to be useful. As always, do remember to hit the subscribe button and to check us out on our website at go.gooselaw.com. Thanks for joining.